It was funny. My chiropractor's like, so what do you do for strength training? I go, tennis. He goes, no, for strength training. I said, tennis. He goes, you probably need to do something. Oh my God, girl. Everything's flowing. She goes, I got my period overnight. I let my husband hold me, and I had three new client emails in my inbox.
Like you said, this all sounds very woo-woo, but it's all backed in science, which
It
is
is based in
amazing as well.
science. Or you get repeat patients, meaning you fix one thing and then something else goes wrong. So
Mm.
you have to get to the underlying root cause, which is always that trapped. I will never forget my OBGYN's face when she said to me, it's gone. We must have cut it all out. Well, the first thing I want them to remember is that self-care is not selfish, it's sacred.
Now I lost where I was going to ask the first question.
You were saying, hey, Kristine. Yeah.
Kristine, thanks for coming on the podcast. I'm excited you're here.
Oh my gosh, Jack, I am so excited to talk to you about holistic healing.
Like I was just saying before, like, I've dived into your course. I'm excited to get started because I do believe what you are teaching is the missing key for people just to realize their true form and live a life true to them. So again, appreciate your time, you being here.
Absolutely.
As I said before, like you've absolutely been killing it. TV appearances, morning shows, documentaries, book launches, like you are absolutely killing it. And a article on BuzzFeed you just said. So
Yes.
tell us about you. Who are you and what do you do?
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm Kristine Genovese. So I wrote a book called Healing Through Soul Intelligence. That's a LA Tribune bestseller, and it just became 2025 Book of the Year for Best Holistic Life magazine, which was amazing. And I developed a healing method. And the healing method helps people heal mentally, emotionally, sometimes physically, spiritually, ultimately energetically, okay? So that they can live their best life. They can be in full alignment with who they really are, that they can be in touch with their mission, their vision, their values, and their purpose, and they can, you know, achieve all the things they want to achieve. And I know it sounds like, whoa, really, you have the magic bullet? But truly, when we start looking at the root cause of dis-ease or dysfunction or dissonance in the body, it's really that trapped energy. And emotion is supposed to be energy in motion. And when energy pools in the body, that's when it causes disease or dysfunction or dissonance in the frequency. And you need to go to a doctor, right, to help them shift it up and out. So, kind of like a chiropractor would give you a biomechanical adjustment, people work with me to get a bioenergetic adjustment. And it all starts with science, right? This isn't something I made up. I'm not a very woo-woo person. I'm pretty grounded. And what I'm saying that why I say that is, it's science documented the study of bioenergetics in the 1950s. So Dr. Alexander Lowen documented it. And it's basically the correlation between your physical well-being and your mental and emotional well-being. And to me, it's common sense. So if you're not feeling well physically, typically mentally, emotionally, you're not doing so hot and vice versa, right? So, when people are sick, they're usually depressed or, they're usually, not at their mental and emotional best. But when we really, one of the reasons why I operate in the field of functional medicine is because they're focused on getting to the root cause of what's causing the problem. So I often partner with functional medicine healthcare providers so that I can get to the underlying emotional root cause, that energy that's trapped, that old trauma, that unresolved issue, that, you know, uh, limiting belief, old pattern, negative energies, emotions, and thoughts, whatever is stuck underneath that energy that's holding the dysfunction in the body, we get that energy up and out. And then I can partner with that functional medicine provider to be able to give the body what it then needs to heal completely, right? So once we get the energy out of whatever body part's been affected, then we can actually give it what it needs to heal. So whether that's a pharmaceutical or a nutraceutical or working with a personal trainer to develop muscle, whatever that person needs in order to heal completely, that's what we do, is we put together a complete holistic plan to help somebody heal.
Absolutely love that. One of my biggest challenges with my clients is awareness. A lot of the time,
Mm,
people are working in the gym, working out in the gym, eating the right food, and they think they're doing the right thing, but they just, again, I can see that there's something missing in their goals. Like they don't
mhm.
know why they're doing it. They're just going through the motions. So, how can people get more aware of that energy in their body? What should people be looking for so they know that, that's something I need to work on?
Well, it's kind of funny. I think everybody reacts to energy differently, right? And it's probably like if I can give you like some examples of like people I've helped, a lot of times I'm healing the healers. So I actually work with the medical professionals themselves, right? To try and fix what's wrong with them. So for example, I had a health coach who told me that um, she hadn't had a period in about 3 months. Okay, so this is not something
Mm,
that you're going to see. This is something you're going to feel, right? She hadn't had a period in about 3 months. She just wasn't feeling affectionate, wasn't feeling good, didn't really want her husband, to embrace her, and that her business had started to kind of slow down to a point where she was getting concerned. And
mm,
I said, well, we've got to look at your sacral chakra. She's like, what? So I don't know if you or your audience are familiar with the chakras, but they're the seven major energy centers in the body. The first one's at the base of your spine. It's the root. It's about things that are usually like that make us feel safe or grounded here on earth. So it could be kind of basic needs, are not being met. A lot of financial challenges might appear there. But the
mm,
second one, the sacral chakra, is where all of our sexual organs are. So in a woman, it's her uterus. For a man, it's the prostate. Which is, so my first thing was, oh, we need to go there, not only for the period, but it's also why she's not feeling necessarily affectionate towards her husband. The other thing is, it's where we not only birth babies, it's where we birth businesses. It's also, if you think about it, the seed of womanhood, it's also the seed of manhood. It's one of the reasons why so many men get prostate cancer when they retire. They've lost their
mm.
sense of purpose. So it attacks, the energy has to go somewhere. The frustration goes right to that area. So I did a session. I was clearing out all kinds of stuff, from there. It was like 90% blocked. I was like, okay, we gotta get moving. You can dance, you can do a lot of things to get energy down there, but if you're not feeling affectionate, you got to get some energy in there. So we did clear it up. I got a text from her the very next morning, and she went, "Oh my God, girl, everything's flowing." She goes, I got my period overnight. I let my husband hold me, and I had three new client emails in my inbox. Now, that's pretty immediate, right? When we shifted something so dramatically like that. And it can happen that quickly. I worked with someone last night and did a session with her, and she went, "Oh my God, I was exhausted, but I know I got to work with you on a more regular basis because I feel so amazing today."
Mm.
And this was someone that's healthy. She's working out, she's doing all the things. It's just she's around another person who is going through a lot of emotional work, like kind of what I would call their dark night of the soul, or their, you know, you kind of hit the wall and you're trying to figure out who do I need to be now and why is my life careening into the side of a mountain kind of event. And so she's around that energy. And so when you're compassionate, like you naturally pick up other people's energy. And I think that's something that people may not recognize, right?
Mm.
If we get back to like primary school, I guess, where we were taught, we're all protons, neutrons, electrons vibrating in this electromagnetic field. So we naturally attract things to us, good and bad. And so when we're in close proximity with someone, whether we live with them, whether we're intimate with them, um, you know, we naturally pick up their energy. And so then if they're going through something, we might then experience it or kind of try and work it through for them. And that can also be really, really draining. And that's really what was happening for her. Um,
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I've spoken about this before, how when I work with clients, you're very intimate with them. Although you're just
sure.
taking them through a workout, it's very close. They generally
Hmm.
open up about a lot of things, so that energy comes in. And yeah, you can definitely tell. Sometimes. depending on the client and what's happening, that energy can disappear, but then other times it can boost you up again. And again, here I talk to a lot of PTs, healthcare
Hmm.
practitioners, and they say the same. Like sometimes they're just absolutely drained, and then sometimes the energy is just there and flowing. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about. So, we'll get back to the episode in just a minute. Are you exercising more than 3 times a week, eating healthy, sleeping the right amount, but still not seeing results, or feel like you should be progressing a lot faster than you actually are? If you're a long-term listener of the podcast, you know there's 8 pillars to your health, wellness, and overall happiness. I've even had a lot of doctors on the podcast recently talking about these 8 pillars, and they've written books about the pillars and how to implement them into your day-to-day life. But the biggest question I get from you guys is, how do I implement all 8 pillars into my life when I'm already exercising, sleeping, and eating right? What do I work on next? And that is a great question. And I've actually been working with some of those podcast guests to create this assessment. So this true form assessment is 26 questions broken up over the 8 pillars to find exactly where you're at, what you need to be working on, and what pillars are lagging. Because like I said, you're not going to be adding in all 8 pillars. So finding out the exact one that is lagging the most is going to give you the most benefits and give you the energy, the results, and the happiness that you've been looking for. And the idea is that you come back and do the assessment again once you've worked on that pillar to keep building them up over time. This is 100% free, and a big thanks to the guests that did work on it with me. I've been trying to create something like this for a long time now, but just trying to figure it all out and how to get it there at the end, but also give you something at the end. So you're going to get results on what pillar you need to work on and how to work on it as well. So I'm very excited about this because now I can just, every time I get that question, what do I work on and how do I implement it, I can just send you there. So scan the QR code or link in the description, go do your assessment now, figure out what a pillar you need to start working on so you can live a long, healthy, happy life that is true to you. Yeah, like you said, this all sounds very woo-woo, but it's all backed in science, which
It
is
is based in
amazing as well.
science. Yeah,
Which,
well, that's what I want people to understand, right? I
yeah.
talk about quantum physics. I talk about neuroplasticity. I talk about bioenergetics. Look, Einstein himself said the future of medicine is frequency.
Mm,
And as we continue to evolve, right, and we continue to be more aware, and we kind of are on our own ascension path, we realize how much we're all electricity, right? And we're mostly water, right? We conduct electricity through our bodies. We're all of this energy and frequency. Like we're showing now that they're able to kill cancer cells, the outside cell membranes of cancerous cells with frequency. So the only way I can see you right now is it's energy, it's frequency, and it just happens to be translated by the computer, right? Otherwise, how would I even be talking to you? People also like forget about music. It's all frequency, and then your ears hear it, right? And
mm,
it's translating the frequency. But we just like we stream all kinds of stuff and we don't think about how it shows up. You know, it's energy, it's frequency, it's being received. And we do the exact same thing, the
mm.
exact same thing. And I think people forget that,
Yeah.
right? Because
Uh,
we're physical, we're corporal, we're like, we feel separate, but we're actually not. We're really
mm,
not.
mm. I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago with a guest, and
Hmm.
he said pretty much the same thing. Like we all always just think very practical and what we
Hmm.
can see, feel, touch. We just don't allow those other senses to open up, and we don't let them
Hmm.
in. So yeah.
Right.
So where did this all start with you? Where did the soul intelligence start?
Well, there's a story. So maybe, I don't know, your audience might remember 2020. In particular for me, it was March 12th of 2020. That's when the world came to its ultimate timeout, and we all went through the COVID pandemic, where we all had to shelter in place and had some craziness going on. So I was actually, for most of my career, a corporate turnaround specialist. So I would help companies grow their revenue and I would fix what people, processes, or technology needed to shift so the business could achieve their objectives, right?
Mm.
And I was on my last turnaround, not in the way I thought it would be my last turnaround. But I got a call. I was actually in an oncologist's office with my now husband, who was going through prostate cancer. He was being diagnosed, actually, getting the biopsy that day.
Mm.
And I got a call from the head of HR letting me know my services were no longer needed. And I was in complete shock. I had never been fired in my entire life. I had always met or exceeded expectations, right? I'm like a badass. I just got a corporate, like a bonus, a performance bonus, like a week before that. I was like, what? I'm like, we're making the turn. We're in year one of a planned 3-year turnaround. Well, what had happened was my boss, the COO, and myself prepared the board deck. It was a Thursday. We were supposed to go in on Monday and present to the board. Um, and basically, what we had shown is that if we had been allowed to hire the people that we wanted to hire in the fourth quarter, we not only would have met the Q1 objective, we would have exceeded it. But the CEO kept telling us no. He wanted to hold the line on expenses. We couldn't hire and train anyone. So what he did is he fired me. And when I got fired, I texted my boss. I go, I just got fired. He goes, me too. I'm like, what the? Yeah. So the CEO took our board deck, went into the boardroom, told the board that we didn't hire enough people, and he went on a hiring spree. Now, karma does have a way of working things out. If you believe in karma, the energy you put back out comes back to you.
Mm.
He was investigated by the board and removed from office. And then he put a crony in place, and they summarily ran the company into the ground. It no longer exists today, which
Mm.
is a shame. But that's what happened there. So what did I do? Okay.
Yeah.
After I got through the immediate panic of, oh my God, no one's hiring. Everybody's trying to figure out this work from home thing. What am I
True.
going to do? Right? And I go through all
Yeah.
the feels and the crazy and the just the shock of it all, right? Was okay. I spoke to a really good friend and they said to me, "Look, why don't you figure out what you really want to do as opposed to just jumping back into what you've always done?" And I think Brandon Bouchard, he wrote a book called Average Sucks, and I just love the name of that book. I just think it's just kind of right in your face. And he wrote about how people see us as like in our zone of excellence for a long time. Like we're really good at it. We identify with that role. We get
Mm.
paid really well. And we kind of stay in that zone of excellence for a long time. And then something happens where you get kind of that niggling, like, I need to step into my zone of genius. And so this big timeout, fortunately, based on the nature in which I was released from my job, I had about a 9-month runway, a nice exit package to figure it out, right? I
Mm.
had, God gave me the grace. So I did a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation. And I remember I had this one meditation where I just had tears streaming down my face. And I realized there was no way I could go back into corporate America. Like it was soul crushing. And I realize now that was my own soul intelligence speaking to me at that time. We talk about IQ, right? We all know the brain, right? And that we're always strategizing, figuring, calculating all up in here. And that's important, but that is only 5% of our actual mind. The 95% is in our subconscious mind. And that's where all this stuff that I'm talking about goes. That's where all of our unresolved trauma, stuck emotions, self-limiting beliefs, um, all of that gets stored in the subconscious. So then you
Mm.
got to get strategic. And how do you reprogram the subconscious mind? Now, subconscious mind's great because if we didn't have one, we'd stop breathing when we're sleeping. But how do you know what's even stuck in there, right? And so that's what my method actually helps to bring from the subconscious to the conscious mind so it can be released. Um, but the method came to me during that period where I was like, okay, it's time for me to really do something that I'm passionate about. And I had learned a number of years ago how to use a book of charts and a pendulum. That's actually how I discern the information. But that method really felt kind of stifling, like religious, restrictive. It just really, it gave me the concept, in terms of how I would put something together. And then as I, got quiet enough to be able to hear the messages, I was able to put the method together. And that's how really Soul Intelligence was born. Now, how do I, here I am, this corporate badass, right? How do
Mm.
I tell people that I have this spiritual side that I've always had without looking like a nut, right? Like, I can't walk into a boardroom with a book of charts and a pendulum, right? To tell them what we need to do going forward. So I had to figure out, how do I come out of the spiritual closet, right? And
Mm.
be able to stand in this new identity. It's kind of scary, right? So I developed a leadership program, and I went back to my network of, through LinkedIn and like companies I had helped turned around. And I spoke to the CEOs of those companies and I said, hey, I put together this 12-week leadership program. So give me a quarter and I'm going to give you a team that is lit up from the inside out. Okay. They are going to be so in alignment with your mission, your vision, your values, and your purpose. They're going to run through the fire for you. And who doesn't want a team of people to do that? So I had a coaching credential that I had used, in business and had earned a number of years ago. And so I put this leadership program together and I put 3 one-on-ones in the coaching program. So the first one that was, using a tool called the Game Changing Index. It's something I still use today, but it tells you where your energy naturally wants to go. And it
Mm.
tells you what intrinsically motivates you. Super cool tool. Um, Then the next one is like midpoint, right? Kind of checking in with what methods are working, how's your team doing? Because this was a program I developed for, you know, mid-level managers to become senior leaders to move into the C-suite, and then I did some executive coaching, some one-on-one work. So I had the next level, right? I after the midpoint, we check in, how's your team doing? How are you doing with the concepts? What's going on? They're kind of getting to know me by now. So the last one-on-one, I gave everybody a choice. And I said, listen, we can do a traditional coaching session where we talk about where you are now, where you want to go, how your team's doing, and what you want to do going forward. Or you could take a risk walk with me and we could do a soul intelligence session where I'm going to tell you the root cause of why your team's in the shape it's in to begin with and why your personal life is not the way you want it to be either. So you tell me, what would you prefer? Every single person chose the soul intelligence session. So I knew I was onto something at that point. So I did get into functional medicine by actually just hitting up my own doctor. So I'm very lucky. I have an incredible doctor. Her name's Dr. Lisa Coach. As a matter of fact, she wrote the foreword to my book, and
Mm.
she's a triple board certified MD, but she's also a naturopathic doctor. And so I sent her this really compelling email and I was like, listen, I'll clear my afternoon. She didn't know I'd been fired at the time, like she does now, which is, we laugh about it. But I'm like, listen, I'll clear my whole afternoon. I'll just come sit in your office. And when you're free, I'll do this for you. Because I know me as this crazy plane hopping adrenal junkie. But I have this other side to me where I can actually shift energy and I can shift it out of the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body. And so she said, sure, come on down. So I show up. She's busy with patients, but one of her colleagues, a chiropractor was there. And she's like, I just had 3 cancellations in a row. That never happens. And I go, thank you, Divine. So I started to do a session for her, and she's crying. She's having this huge release. She's like kicked her water all over the floor. That usually means like your emotions are spilling out everywhere, by the way, when you're dropping stuff, just so you know. And she's like, how do you know all this stuff, this specifics? I can't believe it. And then right at that moment, my doctor knocked on the door, sees her colleague, a just total hot mess, and she goes, oh, I'm next. So it was kind of game on from there. And that's how I started to introduce it to functional and integrative medicine because they realize you treat the entire person and the entire body, right? And that you've got to treat the mental and emotional and the physical body all together. Or what happens is you get chronic illness, or you get repeat patients, meaning you fix one thing and then something else goes wrong. So
Mm.
you have to get to the underlying root cause, which is always that trapped emotion.
Yeah, and again, that's definitely what I'm seeing with my clients as well. That's
Yeah.
your stories. absolutely amazing on your transition and actually how you transitioned into it as well. I love that, how you found yourself, but then you could also use your business skills to launch that and start helping more people as well.
Hmm.
Let's go back before 2020.
Oh
So
gosh.
what were you doing?
You're gonna make me get a calculator out? All right.
No, no, no. What were you doing then that you're still doing now? As in, were you meditating back then, journaling, all that sort of stuff? Because you, as you said, you had that spiritual side to you, but you just didn't know it until you could quieten the noise.
Yeah, I would say so. I used that old book of charts and a pendulum, kind of in my hotel rooms when I was doing corporate turnarounds, because I wanted to figure out what's the underlying energy that's holding this company back, or what's this underlying energy that's holding this team
Hmm.
back, you know? So I was using it quietly behind closed doors. Nobody knew that. But prior to that, I think it was recognizing that. Um, I could feel other people's emotions. Okay. And I didn't realize that it was always happening to me, right? I don't
Mm.
think I realized it until I was more of an adult. Um, and that I was what, we call empathic. Like everybody's got these other senses, right? Clairvoyant, people see things, clairaudient, you hear things. For me, I'm clairsentient, which means I feel first. Like, you get those chills and you know something's absolutely true, right? That's really your feeling sense. And I realized, I grew up with an alcoholic father. And I remember telling my mom, I don't like how I feel when I'm around my dad. And I never realized I was actually picking up on all of his self-loathing and, hatred and, disgust and, all of that angst that was causing him to,
Mm.
try and deal with his stuff through alcohol. Right. So it was kind of like, oh, interesting. But in terms of like spiritual practice, I am more active in terms of meditation today than I ever have been. One of my mentors is Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's an amazing, gifted, he's actually a chiropractor who really talks about the power of meditation, how you can change your physical body chemistry through the power of meditation. It's fabulous, fascinating work. He's just documented it. Actually, this past month in November, he had UC San Diego finally published the results of the studies on how people have cured themselves of cancer. MS patients walk out of wheelchairs. It's
Wow,
fascinating. Oh,
serious. You'll
yeah.
have to send that
Totally
through to me
cool.
for sure. Yeah, that's
Oh, I
crazy.
will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just went to one of his in-person retreats in August and went through his 7-day course myself. And just being in that room with those people and being able to just kind of feel that energy was amazing. So
Mm.
I do meditate twice a day, first thing in the morning typically, and usually at night, unless I'm really stressing during the day and I'm like, oh, I need another timeout. But I probably do it more now because I enjoy it and I look forward to it. I think sometimes we do things we think we're supposed to or checking a box. If it's a
Mm.
should, we probably no, it's not for you. But I think prayer and meditation really go hand in hand. To me, prayer is really sending out the request, and meditation allows you to hear the answer in essence. And so I think they're great ways to put your energy out into the field. And the way this works in the quantum is we send the signal out. That's really the brain, right? The spark. That's the male, the electric part of the electromagnetic field. Okay, so we have to send the signal out, what we're requesting. But what magnetizes it to you, what brings it into physical form, basically gets the particle to collapse into a wave to bring it into physical form, okay, is emotion. And I started to talk about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind knows emotion, it doesn't know time. So when you talk about like the book The Secret, that was a great start to try and talk about how do you manifest things? How do you bring stuff from the quantum or from the divine, from the field into form? And basically, they would talk about, the affirmations. Well, that's great, but that's part of it.
Mm,
Dr. Neville Goddard said feeling is the secret, and it really is. You have to feel so that your subconscious mind and your body know what that vibration feels like so you can bring it into physical form. And that's how it really works. So the magnetic part is the female part. That is what magnetizes things and brings it into you. And it makes me laugh when we think about me as growing up in corporate America, right? It was
mm,
all about, I was trying to act like a guy. Like I would make sure, I wanted to be one of the guys. I felt like I had to work twice as hard to get equal pay. I just grew up at that time. It was just reality,
mm.
right? I remember just being in college and I was tending bar to put myself through school. And I remember carrying 2 cases of beer up 3 flights of stairs just to prove to the guys I could do it. Stupid shit like that. But I also had my own cancer scare at one time because I was, talking like a man, acting like a man, keeping up with sports statistics. Like I know I like sports and stuff, but I mean, like, just so I could be one of the guys, I'd be crass. I'd make fun of people who got emotional at work. Like all of this stuff. And so one day I went to my OBGYN for a checkup and they told me I had an abnormal pap smear. I'm like, oh, that's no good. So then I had to go back and they did an in-office procedure and they're like, yeah, there's too many cancerous cells here, funky cells. So we're going to have to do a conical biopsy. I'm like, a what?
Mm,
Yeah, we have to schedule you in the hospital. We're going to have to put you under and we're going to take out, more um, pieces of tissue from your cervix. And I'm like, wow. So I was like freaking out. Anytime someone says the cancer word, right?
mm,
Um, just so everybody knows, we all have cancer cells in our body. It's just whether the conditions are right to let the cancer bloom. All right. Now, I didn't know that at the time. So it was just like the, you know. So I went to like every person I could think of, like from doctors to healers to psychics to, everybody. I did energetic acupuncture. I remember one woman told me, she goes, that I went to, she was like, well, you're just not in touch with your divine feminine. And at the time, I was like, well, what the hell does that mean? Right? Now I think we understand it a little bit more, but I was like, do I have to grow my hair long? Do I need to wear flowy dresses? Do I have to dance more? What does that mean? I'm not in touch with my divine feminine. But basically, what I had done is I had stuffed all of my feminine energy down. I had basically seen women as weak. I didn't value being a woman. I thought it was, better to be a man or act more like a man in business than it was to be a woman. I remember being so disconnected from my body at the time that I said, well, my kids are grown, so they could just take my body parts out. I don't need them anyway. What's the difference? Like, what? Like, what are you doing? So, I did all the things, right? I did prayer, I did meditation, I did my journaling. I went to see all kinds of healthcare providers. And then I went to one friend who was also a massage therapist who said to me, she goes, by the time you go in for that procedure, it's going to be gone. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I started seeing my cells vibrate healthy. And I thought,
mm,
okay, this lady that talked about the divine feminine. So I started reading about really strong female, like goddesses, right? Like Sekhmet. She's like a lioness goddess with big hair like me. I was like, oh, that's cool. I started to read about Isis and, Joan of Arc and like Margaret Thatcher, all these incredible women leaders. And I went,
mm,
oh, that's what I'd been doing. Like women can be strong. Women, can endure incredible amounts of pain. And I started to realizing um, that um, I had just really stuffed down everything that was valuable to be a woman, being a woman. And so
mm.
where did it go? I taught you about this earlier. Went to my cervix, I went to my uterus, right? The seat of womanhood. So I go in for the procedure, into the hospital, have the procedure done, and I will never forget my OBGYN's face when she said to me, it's gone. We must have cut it all out. I'm like, yeah, we must have. Was it that? I think it's because I worked on it holistically, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Maybe we did cut a bunch of it out. Good. It's
Mm,
gone.
mm,
But I think that's kind of the moral, right? healer, heal thyself. I had to go through things in order to be able to relate and help others heal.
That story, I've actually heard it before. One of my other guests is a Chinese medicine practitioner here in Melbourne, and breast cancer. She always talks about breast cancer here in Australia. It seems to be on the rise,
Mm,
and it's getting, affecting younger and younger women as well, which is
hmm.
a scary thought. And she
Sure.
says how stress and the body's just not aligned, and the energy is just out of line. So it doesn't surprise me, but it's also crazy to hear that story. When was that?
Oh gosh. Well before I brought the soul intelligence method forth.
Hmm.
Well
Do you
before
think,
then.
yeah, do you think that was a catalyst to, again, your body or your mind or your energy shifting towards a soul intelligence?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you talk about breast cancer. So, like, I wrote an article about breast cancer for Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October, this past October for Best Holistic Life magazine. And I actually talked about the different types of breast cancer, where it shows up. There's a difference whether it shows up in the left or the right. I'll just give you one example. If it happens
Hmm.
to be the left breast, it's typically because you're giving out too much to others. Sometimes it's devaluing yourself, as a woman or over mothering. Like there's lots of things. It's really fascinating to kind of look to see, is it the milk glands and what's the root cause of that? So I use a lot of different resources, to figure out what is actually underlying in the body. And since Jack, I'm so excited to have you as a student now, taking the Soul Intelligence Method course. But I'm going to provide you with a number of different resources because I know you work with people, to train in the physical body. So finding out what's wrong, right? It could be something simple, right? Maybe I wake up one morning and I've got a pain on the right side of my neck. Well, the right side of the body's male, left side is female. So there's my clue. Okay.
Hmm.
Right side of my neck. Okay, it's a guy. Who am I being inflexible with? Or who is being inflexible with me? Because necks are about flexibility, right? It's the right side of
Hmm.
my neck. So, typically it's my partner or my boss because it's a male. And so then I think back to, oh yeah, he is a pain in my neck. He is really irritating me. We think we slept wrong, but when you actually start to dissect it, you go, my body's trying to get my attention. And the reason why I bring all of this up is because our body, our physical body, is really the barometer to our subconscious mind. It's telling us what's wrong. It's telling us what's out of sync, right? What's not right? What's the dysfunction? What's the dis-ease? What's the dissonance in the frequency that has to be corrected? And I think if, you asked me, I think early on, like, how do people know?
Hmm.
That's your first clue. What's going on in the physical, right? I think is probably our biggest clue.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, say people starting to be more aware, they've got a pain in their neck or wherever it shows up. What should the next step be?
Well, for me, I whip out my book and I start doing a soul intelligence session like what energy is stuck in there? What happened? What was the incident? What did it start?
Hmm.
But for anybody else, I think it's kind of like if you can close your eyes and get quiet enough, and to just kind of feel into it and really ask yourself, okay, what are you trying to share with me? What do I need to know? And kind of ask, whether you're talking to the divine, whether you're talking to the uncomfortable pain in the body. There's I have a really good friend and she practices somatic therapy. So she'll be like, does it feel hard? Does it feel soft? Does it feel rough? Does it feel, what color is it? You can kind of do some somatic techniques on your own. But typically I kind of do a review of, oh, what am I holding on to? Where am I being inflexible in the relationship? Because I really feel the main cast and characters in our life are mirrors,
Hmm.
of what we need to heal in ourselves, right? That guy is really irritating. Okay. Well, what is he doing that's eliciting that response in you? Right? Because if I'm like vibrating, Dr. What is his name? Oh, now I'm going to forget. Power versus Force. Who wrote Power versus Force? Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, I'll pull his name up in a second.
Mm.
But basically discovered that, emotions vibrate at different levels. So like love vibrates really high, right? At about 500 hertz. You've heard about listening to high vibe music. That's something you can do to kind of shift things up and out. Um, you can also listen to sound bowls and lots of cool things because sound, energy, frequency can help shake things up and move things out of the body, even if you don't know exactly what's causing it. That's actually a great thing. Massage, love that too. But okay. Anyway, so the frequencies, right? Basically, what we want to know is like love and joy and peace, like they all vibrate really high. Fear and guilt and shame and perfectionism. Believe it or not, perfectionism is below fear in terms of how many hertz and how it vibrates. So, one of my favorite things to do to raise my vibration immediately, Dr. David Hawkins wrote Power versus Force. I knew if I got off it, it would pop in. Thank you. Um, but one of my favorite things to do is to laugh. That is the quickest way to shift your vibration. I got another way. Now, if anybody's driving while they're listening to this, I don't want you to do it, but I want you to do this with me, Jack. I just want you to close your eyes for a moment. So, again, if you're driving, don't do it. And I want you to just imagine someone, something, and someplace that you absolutely love. So, just think about somebody you absolutely love or something you actually absolutely love in a place you absolutely love. I want you to open your eyes. See? You're
Mm.
smiling.
Yeah.
Okay? That is like a quick way to shift your vibe, right? You move right into that state of love when you can envision someone or something or somewhere that you absolutely love, or all three.
I'm ready to. I was just in my favorite surf spot, surfing in the sun with my
Nice. I was
family.
on the
It was
beach
great.
too. I feel you.
So I usually wrap each episode up with a question. So you can't just
Okay.
use the example you just done because that was absolutely amazing, and I think everybody should try that.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to come up with something else. All right, sure.
If you could get every single person to do one thing, but a practical thing, like we just did, stop and think about something, like actually doing something within your body, what
hmm
would you get every single person to do every single day that would have a massive impact?
Well, the first thing I want them to remember is that self-care is not selfish, it's sacred.
Mm,
So, however you take that to mean, so self-care, if you think about the things that cause dis-ease or dysfunction in the body, the number one thing, you mentioned it, is stress, right? So, what's one thing you could do to de-stress, in terms of self-care? Um, it's also eliminating toxicity. Toxicity is also people. Like, think about that person that pings your cell phone. You're just like, ugh, you don't want to
mm,
pick it up. That's an energy vampire. Yeah, move them out as quick as you can. Um, but what are you listening to? What do you read? Really manage your toxicity, what you allow in. It's certainly managing your nutrition, right? Your water. What are we feeding this body to get it to optimally run? Um, and, certainly movement is super important because sitting's become the new smoking. And then
mm,
the last thing is really genetics. And that's only about 5% of the equation. The rest of it is all about lifestyle and your active choices, right? So choose to put self-care at the top of the list. So whether that's meditation for you, whether that's prayer, whether it's both, whether it's, giving yourself 15 minutes to just go out and get the sun to hit you in the face first thing in the morning to get that vitamin D production going. Because vitamin D is actually a hormone, even though we think of it as a supplement or a vitamin. Um, so get that going, the happy hormone. I mean, there's a reason why dogs go out and they lay in the sun first thing in the morning, right? It's a good thing for you. Um, to do that, to just be able to journal. Like if you've got something that's on your mind, on your heart, get it out. So one of the ways you can get it out is to actually write or journal.
mm,
Some people they don't like to write or they're not physical or they don't want to draw or anything like that. So just like speak it out into, even a recording.
mm,
Um, but making sure that you put you first, as I think we've been really conditioned to take care of everyone else. right? And if everybody else is okay, then I'm okay. And the worst thing that we can do is to not put ourselves first, because that's really love one another as you love yourself is one of the greatest commandments I think we've ever been given. And what that really means is you have to take care of you, because if you're constantly giving out, eventually it's going to catch up with you and you're going to be drained.
Yeah, 100% agree. And like I said, most of my clients are that way. They keep giving, 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 and they might be doing all the right things, but they're just not seeing the results within their body, their life, their mental state, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you can stop and look after yourself first, everybody else around you is just going to be happier as well.
Yeah, and make sure you release the shoulds, right? Like if it's got to be a hell yes.
Mm,
Don't do something because you feel you should do it, because that's going to build resentments. It's almost like the straight line to, you holding on to resentment, and that gets stuck in the body, right? Do it, give with a full heart. Like, yes, I'm totally in. I totally want to do it. And make sure you say no when you really mean no. It can be a complete sentence.
that's a perfect place to finish. That's the biggest takeaway, I reckon. Don't go for a should, just a hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, it really does hold resentment.
Yeah,
And
it
I think
does.
people just don't realize that.
Yeah, and it builds up in the body.
Yeah,
So we got to shift that up and out. Well, if people are interested in learning about my method, you're going to put a link to my website in the show notes.
100%. Yep, definitely. I was about to
Awesome.
say,
It's
what can people expect from you in the future and where can they find you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've got a lot going on. I'm very
Mm,
excited. I was just on the cover of a magazine in November called Soulish, which was super cool. And the BuzzFeed article just came out yesterday, which was amazing. I'm actually on the cover of Best Holistic Life magazine in January. So that's pretty exciting. I've got a movie coming out next year. I'm a part of a movie called The Pillars of Power. And that is really um, focused on, I mentioned The Secret earlier.
mm.
It has original cast members of The Secret, so kind of those pioneers of transformation, along with today's transformational specialist. And so I'm proud to be amongst them. So
Amazing.
that should be out, yeah, in the first half of the year. I have a book that's available on Amazon called Healing Through Soul Intelligence. So it's on Amazon and Kindle and Audible. I actually went out to a studio in LA and recorded the book. So it is my voice. So if you'd rather listen to it, I've had several people tell me, "Oh man, I feel like I got a session because you were doing it. I feel like I
Mm,
got a clearing." I go, "Awesome," you
love
know?
that.
Yeah, so that was cool. And I also have my website, which is called Soul, Soul, intelligencemethod.com. And on there, you can see how to work with me individually if you're interested in taking a course. And I've recently decided that I'm adding a monthly workshop where I'm going to teach people how to use soul intelligence. I call it SQ for you, because you got IQ, EQ, this is SQ.
Mm,
And it's SQ for you, where I do just teach them how to clear themselves a space or a pet in just, about 8 hours, like 4 hours on a Friday and 4 hours on a Saturday, just to give them a taste of it, to use it themselves, to realize that they can do it, and then hopefully move them into my larger course, which is what you're in, to become a neuroenergetic health practitioner. So,
epic. Absolutely epic.
so cool.
Kristine, absolutely love you, what you're doing. Love your energy. Appreciate your
Thank
time coming on the
you.
podcast as well.
Jack, it's been a pleasure, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you in my course, and you'll have to let me know. We're gonna have to do a time zone thing so that I can adjust the coaching sessions in case you need, in case I'm like, because I'm Eastern time,
Mm,
so I want to make sure that I can give you support when needed. So,
uh, I love waking up early, so that doesn't matter.
oh well, awesome. Okay, well, thanks again. This has really been fun, and I hope your audience enjoyed it.
Thank you. What is up, everybody? Thanks for being here at the end with me. Obviously, you've enjoyed the episode, but did you notice there was no intro and I don't run ads through the podcast? I don't want to break up the conversation with sponsors telling me to tell you to buy certain products or services. I just want to bring you the best possible conversations that are going to help you live a long, healthy, happy life that is true to you. So in return, all I ask is that you interact with this podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, 5-star rating wherever you're listening. Most podcast platforms have some sort of algorithm now. So the more you interact with the podcast, the more people I'm going to reach to help them live a life true to them as well. Or you can copy this show link and send it to one family member or friend that you will think will benefit from it as well. They'll appreciate you've done that, and I'll appreciate you've done that. You'll be appreciated all over. I would love for you to check out the next episode, so make sure you go and listen to that as well, and I'll see you over there.